If you're a founder and you never know what to post, the problem isn't that you're bad at content. The problem is that you're creating from scratch every single time, and that gets exhausting. You sit down to post, you open your notes app, you stare at the camera for a bit, and all of a sudden, you're asking yourself the same questions again. What should I say? Will this be useful? Am I repeating myself? Will this even fit my business? And that's exactly when content starts feeling messy, inconsistent, and way harder than it needs to be. This is episode 1 of Founder Content Toolkit. And in this episode, I want to show you one of the easiest ways to make your content feel clearer, simple, and much more sustainable. That tool is content pillars. Now, content pillars are just a few core categories that your content sits under. That's it. Nothing fancy, nothing overly technical. But once you understand how to use it, your content will elevate. They're simply key themes that your business can keep coming back to when it's time to create content. And that matters because most founders don't actually need more creativity. They need more structure because without structure, content becomes reactive. You post when you feel inspired. You disappear when business gets busy. You overthink every single idea. And every post feels like starting from zero again. That's the issue. Not lack of ideas, lack of a system. See, Content Pillars solves that by giving you a small number of lanes for you to create within. So instead of asking, what should I post today? Start asking, which pillar does this belong to? And that's a much easier question for you to answer. Let me give you a simple example. If you're a founder or a service-based business owner, your content pillars could be something like this. Your story. This is your journey, your lessons, your perspectives, your lived experiences. What have you learned building the business and what has changed for you? Your expertise. This is where you teach tips, insights, mistakes to avoid, things your audience should understand about the problems you solve. Proof. This is where trust is built. Client wins, results, testimonials, before and afters, case studies, outcomes, process, behind the scenes. This is the human side of the business. How you work, how you think, what your day looks like, the amount of work you have to put in to solve your clients' problems. Now, suddenly content starts feeling less random because you're not trying to invent a new strategy every week. You already know the themes you can speak from. And that creates clarity not just for you, but for your audience too. Because when someone lands on your page, they should start to understand what you talk about, what you care about, and why they should keep paying attention. That's exactly what pillars help with. They make your content easier to plan, they make your message easier to follow, and they make consistency way more realistic. Now, one important thing here, your pillars don't need to be complicated. In fact, the simpler they are, the better. And you don't need 10 pillars, you probably don't even need 6. Most founders can start with 3 to 4 strong pillars and be completely fine. That's enough structure to guide your content without boxing you in. So if you're trying to figure out your pillars, start by asking yourself a few simple questions. What do I want to be known for? What does my audience need help with? And what proof do I need to help them trust me? And also, what parts of my story or process makes my business feel more human? Your answers will usually reveal your pillars pretty quickly. For example, if I was creating content for a founder-focused creative business, my own content pillars might look something like founder story, content education, behind the scenes, and client proof. That already gives me dozens of content ideas. And that's the point. The goal of content pillars is not to limit your creativity, but to remove unnecessary friction. Because when you know your categories, you stop wasting energy trying to come up with something new every single time you post. Now, where people usually get this wrong is in one of two ways. The first is they make their pillars way too broad. They say things like business, mindset, and marketing. Those aren't useless, but they're too vague to guide your content properly. You want your pillars to be clear enough to actually help you decide what belongs and what doesn't. The second mistake is confusing pillars with formats. Reels aren't pillars, carousels aren't pillars, talking head videos aren't pillars. Those are formats. Pillars are the themes underneath the content. That distinction matters because once you know your pillar, you can express that through multiple formats. One pillar could be a reel, a LinkedIn post, a YouTube video, and an email. Same theme, different delivery. And that's what makes your content more consistent without making it repetitive. So here's one practical step I want you to take after this video. Write down 3 to 4 things that you want to be known for. Not trends, not random topics, not things you think you should be talking about. The real things, the themes that actually reflect your work, your perspective, and the trust you want to build. Then use those as your starting pillars. Again, you don't always need more ideas. You just need better structure. And content pillars are a great place to start. So guys, if this helps, subscribe for another episode of Founder Content Toolkit, where I break down another simple story-led content tool for founders like yourself.